All right, hi everyone. This is Bruce Benedict, President, Battlefield Resumes, and tonight we're going to talk about the OPM guidance. And so we're going to wait a few more minutes so we can start at 8 o'clock. We only got about 4 minutes to go. We'll see if some other visitors show up. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the block on the right hand side of your viewing screen. Whenever you have a question, please type it there and not wait until the end. And that way I can answer the questions as they come in. We're going to cover a lot of information tonight, and tonight is we're going to focus on the OPM guidance. Now, the last webinars that we had, we found the job series, we found the job title that matched our military experience, and then we moved into analyzing the job announcements. We moved from there into writing resumes, and so last week we talked about how you can use some of the key terrain in the job announcements to help you draw an outline basically for your resume. And then that helps you tailor your resume to that particular job announcement. Now for this webinar, what we're going to talk about is how to take that finished or almost finished document, that finished draft document, your resume, and add a little icing on top. And in order to do that, we'll walk through it tonight. But when you do that, you will actually have a huge advantage over other applicants. And that's really the key, right? Is to always have an advantage over other applicants. What can you do to get the edge? And so tonight we're going to walk through there. If you missed webinar for the USAJOBS 101, 201, 301, and 401. I do have pieces of them on YouTube. However, the link, they're on the on-demand system. The full versions are on the on-demand system. This is only a 5-part series for USAJOBS. But in the description down below of the video, you can see the links that I have there. On-demand video recordings, so all the webinars are recorded. You'll see them in there. They're only about 99 cents, or you can do a monthly subscription. But everything I do goes in there based on the topics of those on-demand videos. Also, if we have video tutorials on Udemy, which gives you phenomenal deals. Like 90% off deals, and then other resources on my resource page. So everything we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to it's going to be for federal jobs, USAJOBS, and you can find all of it in my book. All right, Operation Federal Resume. So tonight, does anyone initially have any questions before I start? If you can hear me, can you type in and just say hi, just so I know that you have the ability and you can see and hear me? Okay. I see Stan. Okay, great. All right, hi. Excellent. All right, fantastic. I appreciate you guys viewing this tonight. This is really, if I start moving too fast, make sure you type in there to slow it down a little bit or to clarify. What I really like to see is how this is applicable to your personal situation. All right, so when I go through this, I'm going to go through using a certain example. What I would like for you to do is try to associate that example to what you're doing and maybe try to search for your particular situation as I'm searching. All right. So when you'll see me searching on the video on YouTube, but if you bring up a browser and you go to the same websites and you do your search based on what you are doing, right? What your resume is all about and what jobs you're applying to, at that point you'll have questions. And those are the types of questions that you'll get the more bang for the buck, because they are tailored questions to your situation, and that's the key tonight, is to answer your particular situation questions. All right, so let's move into. All right, so tonight what we're going to talk about is OPM.gov. So if you can open your browser as you're watching me and type in, and you'll see it at the top here, opm.gov. All right, .gov. All right. Now, it's an interesting website because, and everything I show you tonight, obviously, it's unclassified. It's all on the internet. Sometimes it's shocking that, at least for me, I was never told this information. So I found it out the hard way, and it has helped me tremendously, and it's helped a lot of clients tremendously. So I want to show you basically what the secret sauce is. Everyone has kind of problems with the federal resume writing process, and it's very seems convoluted and complicated, but I'm going to make this easy for you tonight. So on this website, what I try to show everyone is normally which one of these on the left would you click, right? Well, normally you would probably click the job seeker or the job seeker with disabilities, right? Depending if you're a veteran with disabilities, if you're just a regular job seeker, that's what you would click. In Battlefield Resume methodology, though, remember, we look at two sides. We look at the S3 side and we look at the S2 side, and we war game the two of them. And what does that mean? Well, the S2, if you recall, looks at the enemy, basically looks at the hiring process and how it is going to look at you. The S3 is basically friendly forces, and that's how you look at the process. So, in other words, your resume is a friendly operation that's moving forward, but the S2, you kind of have to put your hat on and figure out how is the HR office, the human resource office, and the hiring manager going to review my resume. If you knew that, then you would definitely have an advantage. I mean, obviously right now, if you've applied to different government jobs, you've probably concluded that it's a lot different than applying to a normal job, right? I mean, even jobs that you know you're more than qualified for, you'll get something back in the mail saying you're not. And it just doesn't make sense. So I'm going to make sense out of this whole process. So in this, that I'm not going to spend any time on this job seeker, any of these, okay, because that's easy. That's the friendly forces. You already know that information. We're going to look at the opm.gov page because OPM owns USAJOBS. Let's just, if you don't know that, USAJOBS is an OPM website. OPM, and I keep everything simple. I'm not an HR professional. I have just been a hiring manager, and I've worked through this system thousands of times on both sides, both ends of the house. And so I look at it and try to keep it simple. And how I do that to make sense out of this is OPM owns USAJOBS website. The majority of the federal government has to submit applications on USAJOBS. Not all of them. So like the CIA and NSA, organizations like that do not have to announce their jobs on, and they don't, on USAJOBS. All right. However, they all abide by, for the most part, OPM guidance. So if you look at OPM is kind of the umbrella that everyone kind of falls under. All right, it's guidance. It's already there. Some organizations have more leeway than others. However, OPM, it's on the internet, and we can access it from here and identify what is basically the baseline tasks behind the scenes. All right. So what I do is I put on my S2 hat, and that's what I would recommend you do as well. So the S2 hat means HR practitioners. That's what you want to go to, because we want to know how they view your resume. So let's click on HR. Now what you get is another screen with 3 options. Let me move this over a little bit because I want you to see this. All right, so what you get is 3 options. This one over here, called classification and quals, basically classification and qualifications. This is what you want to click on. And the reason I say that is classification in this instance does not mean security classification. Security classification is completely different. This classification is classifying government jobs to be a certain salary level, right? So if you are trying to figure out what's the difference between a GS7 and a GS8, or a 7 and a GS6, that's the classification process. Well, if you knew that, I mean, what's the minute difference between one GS level and another GS level? Okay, there's got to be something there, and there is. All right, so click on the classification and qualifications. When you click on it, this is what page you come up with. Now, what I would recommend is that you read through, especially, all of this right here. If you take the time to read through, I would read this right here. This will be the same difference as an S2, a military intelligence officer, reading the doctrine of a foreign army. All right? That's the only way that the S2 can pretend to be the enemy, or try to understand how the enemy is viewing the U.S. force. Right? This is literally the only way that you can identify how the system is going to look at you. And so I would recommend going through here and spending some time and reading all these pages just right here. Not this whole page, not all this, but underneath classification and qualification. We're going to spend time tonight by talking about classifying general schedule positions. Now remember, there's a couple different pay type series out there, right? So there's the GS series, and then there's wage grade series. All right, so if you see something that's called, that's a wage grade, well, this is where the federal wage system is. All right. For the most part, everyone's going to fall under a typical GS system. Now, there are a lot of different types of pay scales out there. You'll see a lot of those, two-letter systems like GG, GS. There's all kinds of different ones, even pay banding. The easiest way to keep track of this is just dumb it down literally to the GS system. All right, so if you want to know how to keep it simple through all of those different pay systems, base everything off of the salary that's being announced on your job announcement and equate it to whatever the general schedule pay series is. All right, so if I'm applying to a job that has some acronym that I don't know regarding their pay system, but let's say it's $81,000 a year job. Well, if I equate that to the general schedule pay series, which is on OPM site, maybe that's a GS 13 step 1. Okay, so that's the guidance. All right, so just keep it simple. Just use what the system allows you to use, which is the general schedule, and it works. All right. So now what I would like for you to do is I'd like for you to click on classifying general schedule positions. Now what you have here is you have 3 handbooks. All right. Now what you have are 3 handbooks, and what's interesting here is that this top one, the Handbook of Occupational Groups and Families, is where a lot of that's where all the federal job series starts. All right. That's where you'll see all of the different federal jobs. And then what you have next is the Introduction to Position Classification Standards. And so what that does is that basically describes how they grade each job position to be a certain pay level. Right? Now who actually does that? There's a person that's called the classifier in the Human Resource Office, and the classifier classifies position descriptions to be a certain pay grade. All right, and GS level. Whoops. So a certain grade level. And so what happens is that the classifier, for all intents and purposes, uses this classifier's handbook as guidance. So if you want to know how a position gets graded out at a GS level, then my recommendation is to read this handbook and become familiar with it as if you are the classifier. Right? And so now if you do that, then you move into position classification standards. Okay? But these 3 handbooks here, I know it's a little confusing. I'm going to take it a little slow here, but a little confusing, but these 3 handbooks you definitely need to read because they will describe the entire process. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go in to a job series. Now remember, way back in USAJOBS 101 that I taught, the most important factors were identifying your 4-digit job series number and the job series title, right? The title of the job announcement and the job series number. And I'm going to show you why. So let's say I have found a job that is the 0080 position. Now, just so everyone can see this again, let me type this in here, just in case you missed it. 0080 position. So we're in USAJOBS. I'm going to look at some positions now. 0080. So let's go down here to, let's just say, security specialist. This is being announced right now. It's a 0080 position at the GS12 level. All right. Now, the 2 main important areas here is 0080 and security specialist. Now, we know it's graded at the 12 level. So that's important. All right. So now what we're going to do is, the assumption is we've already worked through all of the other webinars, right? So you have your resume. So now we go into the OPM site and we go to the Handbook of Occupational Groups and Families. Click on that. Now what you're going to see, and this is really interesting reading if you're looking for positions, if you're looking for jobs, this is a fantastic resource. It has every federal job in here. And what it is, you have to kind of think of the federal system as, again, groups and families. That's what they call these, right? They're groups and families. So, for instance, the 0080 job that I saw on USAJOBS, right, this one, would fall under the 0000 family. Now, if if you are if your job series is, let's say, a 301, or the 4-digit code would be 0301. It's like a project manager. You would fall under the 0300 series. That's where you're going to find it. Now you see how easy that is, and they go through a lot of the positions here. All right, so what I want you to do now is I'm going to go through using the 0080, but you go through using whatever your 4-digit series is. All right. Finance. So if you don't know what your 4-digit series is, I would quickly go to USAJOBS and try to identify it, because the 4-digit job series, we covered it in 101, and the 4-digit job series and the job title is the most important. So if you search right now in USAJOBS, all you would have to do is just type in finance or something like that. Look under series and grade, and right here, this 4-digit code is what you're looking for. All right. So once you have that, and I'm gonna use the example right now of 0080. You click on it. Everything here is clickable. So as I click on this, now I come up with all kinds of different jobs, all kinds of different 4-digit codes, and look at all these are job titles. All right, it's kind of job series, like career series right now. So we're looking for 0080, and we just keep looking all the way down. Don't want to make anyone dizzy, but this is it right here. So you see this 0080. Now here's what's confusing. 0080, if you didn't know any better, you'd probably think we were on the wrong page. And because 0080 doesn't line up with what my job search title was, this one says Security Administration Series. I don't know what that is. So if you're not familiar with the system, this right here may really confuse you. Now remember, we're going to go back to USAJOBS. What I'm looking for is Security Specialist 0080. But the primary number one thing that you have to know is your 4-digit number. After that, then it's your job series. That's what we were covering, all right, in 101. So with that being said, what I'm looking at is 0080. This is a generic paragraph that describes this series, okay? And then what's interesting here also is it will tell you the series numbers that are not included, which is good. They tell you everything. It's really interesting. So it uses a lot of keywords. But what I would like for you to do is then click on the job series right up here. So like this is 0080. Okay, we know we're in the right place. This title doesn't look the same, but we're going to just go for it anyway. So click it. All right. Now what you get is what's called the Position Classification Standard. Now it's interesting. Again, remember classification, and then there's a classifier, right? So there's a classifier that, hold on just a second. So there's a classifier that that uses this document. This is a base document. So what's interesting is down here you see a couple different job series numbers. Job series titles, right? Personnel security, physical security, information security, industrial security. And then there's special security. And then even down here further it says authorized titles. Oh, that's interesting. So let's click on that. Now, the thing that we're actually looking for right now, hold on just a second. we're going to look at security specialist OPSEC. And this is 0080. 0080 security specialist. Well, this is OPSEC. Now when we go back into the position classification, what are we going to find? This is a security specialist right here. So under authorized titles, what we find is personnel security specialist, physical security specialist, information security specialist, industrial security specialist, general, this is just the basic security specialist. So these are authorized titles. Now you may see other titles, obviously, but these are the ones that you're going to see more times than not. And this tells you you're in the right spot. Now, why is this important? If you see something that says authorized titles, what it tells me is that is how the federal hiring process views and reviews a resume based on a theme for this job title. Now, okay, so for instance, if I did physical security work and I'm applying to a physical security job, then my job titles should have a theme of physical security. Because remember, you're not always going to have subject matter experts reviewing your resume. What you're going to have are HR specialists who are reviewing a lot of different federal government resumes. All right, and so what you want to do is keep it as simple as possible. And in order to do that, you have to write your resume basically in an easy fashion that helps them identify that yes, you are qualified. And how do you do that? Use what they're taught. And what I would recommend is this. You know, this says physical security, or let's say we're going to keep with the job that we're looking at USAJOBS, which is security specialist. Then the majority of my theme in my resume should support security specialist, which is described right here in this paragraph. Oops. In this paragraph right here. So that's just a little help, okay? Now, what we're going to do, though, let's go back to the table of contents. And again, right here, exclusions, it talks about job series that are not included in this one. So it tells you that.